fucking stupid fingers. All right, Lance versus Rick, 16.1. And now,
all right, before you begin, he's a little shiny for Hollywood today. Thank you.
all right. So, for the past few sessions, Lance has been doing very detailed work on my face. So we've been trying to minimize the yelling. We've tried to book guest arguers to come in and argue on my behalf so my face can stay all the way still, but they keep flaking or they're too intimidated by the intense political atmosphere here. Today we're doing a thing where maybe we're not going to talk too much about politics and we can maintain a certain level of calmness.
I also thought that as a public service for the people of the world, Rick should expound on physics, which is a subject nobody knows anything about. So, Rick, I don't know what you prepared, but I would like to hear a theory of yours if you're prepared to give one.
A little bit, but mostly I'm going to talk about how the Big Bang is probably not the final, truest theory of the universe. Yes?
Before you, I think that's going to be really fascinating. But just because it's such a hot issue, can you just briefly should we talk about the resignation of Spicer and how you feel?
Okay, sure.
Just really briefly.
All right. Joseph has asked us to talk about Spicer's resignation and the coming of Anthony Scaramucci. And as a liberal, I'm a little nervous because Spicer was kind of clumsy in his public presentation. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders is not the smoothest person in the world, but Scaramucci is super smooth. He's like the frat bro who gets all the girls to come be little sisters for the Kappa Sigs. He's very well spoken, and that may just put a nice polish on some of the ridiculous crap that comes out of the White House.
Thank you.
You know what? I'm above that sort of thing. I got to be honest. I don't care. No matter what Trump does, they're going to the press is going to eviscerate him, and if any of the other Republican candidates had gotten elected, they would do the same thing. If Jeb Bush or Rubio or Cruz had gotten elected, we'd be talking about how Jeb Bush is Hitler right now. And Rick would be saying, don't you realize that on CNN and the New York Times, they said Jeb Bush was Hitler? And I'd have to say, no, he's not Hitler. Don't worry. So
Hitler was competent.
So
Trump is not Hitler. Hitler got some shit done before he went crazy.
Okay, so you see what I'm saying? There's never
But
been,
wait a second.
There's never been a
defend.
Republican in my lifetime that the Democrats didn't say were Hitler. So it doesn't really matter who the press secretary is.
There's a weird.
They will have something on him within a day to say this guy his name is really Scaramucci?
Scaramucci.
Okay, well they'll say he's garbage and it won't make any difference. Actually, you know what? I think the best thing they could do is just cancel press conferences, because the New York Times has gone on record as saying that their mission is to get Trump out of office and to impede Trump. They're not in the business of telling the truth anymore, and CNN is the same way. So you're not even hearing what's really going on from these people anymore. So why indulge them with press conferences at all? What's the point?
All right, so that people in the news business actually do sometimes give us the news. CNN, all the news channels do throw in a lot of extraneous crap. But when they do the news, often they do. Anyway, let me talk about the porn theory of Republican presidents and why every.
Can you look at me when you tell me that tell these
All right,
people?
sure.
This?
All right. So
Okay.
when we were growing up, porn was a rare thing. It wasn't every place. There weren't computers. There wasn't the internet.
Wait, before you say anything, and I promise I'll let you speak for a half hour.
Okay.
I just want to give you notes on camera because we're trying to keep this as real as possible. If this ends up being anything to do with fake IDs, just skip over that, okay?
People are sick of my fake ID.
It just never seems to have a point.
All right. Well, no, I've got a very sharp point here.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
All right.
Or what about girlfriends?
So in the current world of porn, I feel sorry for today's kids.
Move your eyes, okay.
Okay.
Stay on.
Because you type in one wrong thing or click on one wrong link, and your innocent 9-year-old can see butt sex, I assume.
Right.
Or you're not so innocent, 12-year-old or whatever, and whatever you want to see is, or don't want to see, is out there. But I had the way to not be destroyed by porn, at least our generation, is to kind of gradually ramp up, where when I was 9 or 10, I saw a naked lady playing cards. They were probably from the 50s.
Okay.
And they just,
No, wait. Explain this because people don't understand. You didn't like walk into a room and see a naked lady playing cards with somebody
no,
else.
there was a deck of cards
Yes.
with pretty ladies with their shirts off or in negligees.
Yeah.
And that was fine. That was awesome for 4th grade me or 5th grade me.
Okay.
And then shortly thereafter, like we dumpster dive for Playboy magazines. In May, when all the fraternities, cleaned out their rooms to get ready to.
She's so Jewish.
All right.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
So we had Playboys, and back then Playboy didn't even show pubic hair. It was very gentle.
Okay.
And then only later did we see the harder and harder stuff.
Okay.
And so we ramped up. So, I mean, there was stuff that we found disturbing, or at least I found disturbing and shocking, but there wasn't such a jump in the dirtiness of porn that I was forever like. There was a early 20th century poet, John Ruskin, I believe, who you might know. On his wedding night, he saw his wife naked, and she had pubic hair, and that was it for him. It was so shocking that she had this animal-like tuft of hair that he was forever put off of sex.
True story. 19th century realist art critic.
So anyway, the shocks I received were fairly minor. There was a nice ramping up of filthiness that eased me into our current world of total filth. And similarly, the Republicans have eased us into a world of Hitler-ness, or just not goodness. Like Reagan, everybody was up in arms about Reagan, who didn't like Reagan. Reagan was the beginning of the modern Republican presidents. And he was, very likable, lovable.
Don't move when you talk.
Very lovable guy, had a lot of policies that, liberals think are terrible and have only magnified since then. He did some, and said a cute thing after he almost died from an assassin. Honey, I forgot to duck. I mean, he's a Hollywood actor. He had great hair. And then you had George Bush the First, who seemed like a decent guy, kind of a very, mostly, spent a lot of his political career behind the scenes, running the CIA, a war hero. Actually, you might have a different angle on it, but as I understood it, he didn't get reelected because he broke his promise not to raise taxes. I don't know. We don't need to talk about that so much, but not a terrible guy. And then you have G.W. Bush. Again, not a terrible guy, but did some stuff that just seemed outlandishly awful from the viewpoint of liberals, with the number one thing being kind of misleading America into the invasion of Iraq. And now we have Trump, who is like a crazy, dystopian, satirical version of the worst possible president. So, yeah, so Reagan got compared to Hitler, and George Bush the first got compared to Hitler. I'm sorry, George Bush the second got compared to Hitler. Now Trump's getting compared to Hitler. And, the one reason that we compared them all to Hitler is because we didn't know what was coming next. Because, compared to Trump, Reagan is whatever the opposite of Hitler is. I don't know, Aristotle, Plato, I don't know. So anyway, that was a roundabout way of saying that, we were on a gentle and now a very steep slope of crazed Republican presidents.
All right. First of all, that's not what happened. What happened is this. The news media used to be 50% conservatives, and what happened was the 60s generation of socialists grew up and eventually took over the positions of leadership in the media. And so, whereas in the 70s and 60s, maybe a third of the people in the media and the positions of power were conservatives, now 97%, a new study was done recently, 97% of all news reporters are Democrats. And so what used to be considered perfectly reasonable by conservative reporters is now Hitler. So that it's not that the Republicans have changed, it's that the Democrats have better control over the media than they've ever had, and that can be proven. There's no way to dispute that.
Well, let me rebut that with President Donald Trump.
Okay. And President Donald Trump, his policies are perfectly reasonable conservative policies that no matter who carried them out would be considered perfectly reasonable if the news media wasn't 97% Democrat.